Welcome to the Joy of Cooking podcast. Each week, we set the table for a discussion about recipes and stories from the authors of Joy of Cooking. We talk kitchen victories and misadventures and what we are cooking and eating right now. Thanks for joining us at the table today. I'm Sarah Marcia, filling in for Shannon. Today, I'm the owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and producer of this podcast, and I'm loving everything leeks this week. I'm braising them, I'm cooking them, making hot sauce with them, all leeks all the time.
Heck yeah. I'm Megan Scott, co-author of the 2019 edition of The Joy of Cooking. I'm a food editor by day and avoider of dish duty by night. And last night, I ate a bowl of soup with a knife and fork.
Truth. I'm John Becker, fourth-generation co-author and steward of The Joy of Cooking, America's oldest family-run cookbook. And if you want to lull me into a liminal state of teary-eyed contemplation, all you need to do is set down a sack of onions in front of me and maybe give me a sharp knife, too.
What would you do without the knife?
Juggle. I guess I wouldn't be very contemplative. I don't know. You probably get some nice, Zen moment in while you're juggling.
Can you juggle?
I cannot.
I can't either. My uncle one time told me when I was a kid he'd pay me $50 if I learned how to juggle, and I never did it.
Yes, you knew you weren't. You knew you weren't going to do that.
Tried. I just don't have that skill.
When the stakes are that high, I can understand why you would just maybe have some problems.
Yeah, just not good at it.
What have you been eating and cooking this week, Sarah?
Well, we've been cooking all kinds of things. I think you guys know because Dirk tagged you on Instagram, but he made your Cincinnati chili from the cookbook. He's super excited about it. You can see him dancing over there. He loved it. He got like very excited about making it, and then he wanted to eat it all the ways that you guys suggest. So, on hot dogs, on spaghetti, all the things. And we've never had Cincinnati chili before. I don't know if that's just something that Pacific Northwest people don't know about, or
yeah, I think probably not.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. It was fun. It was fun and interesting. Dirk did read the recipe about 100 times, which he always does. He's like a very good recipe follower, which is why he's a really great recipe tester. But he kept saying, "Are you sure I just boil the meat?" And I think he even texted you, John, and was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, doing a long simmering thing that does not start with sizzling the meats and or even browning vegetables, it's very counterintuitive.
We're just not used to it.
Yeah, I blame the French.
Yeah.
They have really wormed their way into our heads, I guess.
Yeah, you don't have to brown meat all the time. Sometimes you can just boil it and it's fine. Or eat good even.
Don't say boil. It's
simmer.
Lazily simmer. Maybe a bubble.
Burbling.
A burble.
Well, it turned out great. So we definitely made that. And then I went on the local news show to talk about what's at the farmer's market. So I bought all these leeks because that's kind of what's growing. And then I had a lot of leeks to deal with. So I did a few different leek recipes. And then I saw you guys were making this olive oil fried toast. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And leeks braised in cream on top of olive oil fried toast is like... Whoa. I want to eat it every day. I might die because
amazing.
It's like too decadent, but it was so delicious. So recipes up on my website. I put some of our bird's eye basil hot sauce in there, which was really nice, like a nice addition of acidity into it. So we ate that a lot because I was, and anytime I'm recipe testing, we have to eat things like 20 times, like until I'm sick of it, And then I don't eat it again for like another year. And then I'll go back to our website and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that recipe. Now I can eat it again. So that's what I've been doing with leeks.
Yeah, leeks. What did I make with leeks recently? Oh yeah, I made a leek and potato tart. So kind of like a quiche, but leeks and potatoes.
Yeah, I think you were just using up some melted leeks that we had for doing pizza. It was a good second life.
Good reuse, second life. Speaking of second lives for leftovers, please describe what you had for lunch.
Well, you were testing a lasagna soup recipe, and then it stuck around for a few days, and we're like, what do we do with this? It's like, oh, well, let's turn it back into lasagna. So it's lasagna soup lasagna.
Because we turned it back into a baked thing because the noodles absorbed all the liquid.
Yeah.
So it was really stodgy, and I was like, I don't want to add more liquid to this. So we just put it in a baking dish and put some dollops of ricotta on there and some mozzarella and Parmesan and baked it. That was delicious.
Reverse engineering.
And then today I was like, well, you should have turned it back into soup. So it would have been lasagna soup, soup.
Yeah. How many times can we reverse, Yeah.
Do it until it's gone.
Yeah.
It definitely falls into the category of things that, you make crispy and then you make soggy. I don't know. There's very similar situation going on.
Yeah, I know you like that. John also made the Joy Scouts recipe of the week today. Tell us about it. How was it?
Yes, the caramelized onions. So that's the reference to the sack of onions and being teary-eyed and contemplative. That was me. It was glorious.
Did you enjoy doing it? Did you get into a meditative state?
I had some alone time. But I didn't get to the meditative state because I was taking notes on things that I maybe want to tweak about that recipe. Mm-hmm. You would think it's like a super simple thing, but everybody has a different way of caramelizing onions.
Well, can I ask for spoilers? Like what do you want to change about it?
Towards the end, they weren't appropriately just dark. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we just need to put some, it's like, hey, if you would like to get them darker than they are, then maybe, just cook off the liquid that you've deglazed the pan with, and then you can just get them browner again and then deglaze again and, repeat as necessary until you get that nice mahogany, color.
Sounds good.
Yeah. After an hour of stirring onions, maybe that's a big ask.
Most people stop, yeah.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
whether they're caramelized or not.
If you spend that much time doing it and it's not looking like the caramel that you had envisioned, then maybe you just keep going.
Mm-hmm. That recipe is on page 255. If you make caramelized onions and want to share with us, please tag us at The Joy of Cooking on Instagram. We would love to see what you make. Irma Rombauer believed that cooking should be joyful, and that philosophy changed the way America eats. Her great-nephew, Kerner, carried that same joy and generosity to Napa Valley, founding Rombauer Vineyards in 1980. The winery was built on the same belief that made the cookbook a classic, that good food and wine should bring people together. And just as the joy of cooking has been in American kitchens for nearly a century, today Rombauer is one of California's most celebrated wineries and the perfect pairing for every meal you cook from the book. Your next favorite pairing is waiting at rombauer.com/joy. Use code JOYPOD, that's JOYPOD, all caps, for 15% off your order. That's ROMBAUER.com/joy and use code JOYPOD at checkout.
Must be 21 to enjoy.
We'd like to welcome Kat Kinsman to the table. Kat Kinsman is the executive features editor at Food and Wine, author of High Anxiety, Life with a Bad Case of Nerves, and host of Food and Wine's podcast, Tinfoil Swans. Kat, welcome to the show.
Hello there. I'm absolutely delighted, and I'm now starving because you were talking about one of my favorite foods in the entire world, Cincinnati chili.
Oh, yeah? How do you like yours?
3-way with onions.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in Northern Kentucky, and I love this stuff so much. We served cheese conies at our wedding.
Amazing.
So I am all here for the Cincinnati chili diaspora going across the country.
Remind me, does the 3-way include the kidney beans?
No, so there's. I want to make sure I get this straight. There's the 2-way with just the chili, or and 3-way. 3-way has the cheese, but you have to specify what that other thing is. So it was with onions. So you have to kind of like call out what it is. I think if you're doing a 4-way, you wouldn't necessarily have to specify the onions or the beans, but I'm not remembering exactly.
Do you?
It's been a while since I've actually been inside of a Skyline chili parlor, which is it's really sad to admit.
You're a lapsed Cincinnatian.
Well, we were in Florida pretty recently, and I guess that we were really close to some like locations of some Skyline locations, and we did not go out of our way to go there, but we should have. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, Kat, what have you been cooking and eating this week that you're excited about?
Oh, this week has been a very strange week. It's a little bit me getting home from work late, being stuck on the subway kind of thing. So it's been more assemblage of things this week. My husband is at his swing dance class tonight. So I fully admit that I had brie, Triscuits, and hummus for dinner tonight. So there was not a lot of cooking going on. I think we got takeout last night. But generally speaking, I do a fair amount of cooking, and we've had to change a lot over the past year and a half after my husband had a heart attack a year and a half ago. So we had to completely throw the rule book out the window and change. So it's been a lot of chicken that we were going to grill it this weekend. We were in upstate New York where it was snowing. So we decided to air fry that instead with this rub that we usually do on the grill and get it really crispy. Do this rub that has a smoky and sweet paprika in there, salt. Let me see if I can get this all. Celery seed, onion powder, garlic powder, brown sugar, and it's like a beautiful thing. Rub the chicken in that, and we usually serve it over top of like a bunch of chopped chicories and things, and sometimes with some roasted potatoes. But the particular thing is my husband's last name is Wagner, and he grew up with the nickname Wagatrip for Wagamuffin Trip. And so it's Wagatrip and chicken, which entails then having this like juicy, like rubbed chicken over top of these greens. And it's our friends insist on that. We make giant batches of it. So that was kind of the weekend project.
Delicious.
Yeah, no, it sounds really good.
Yeah,
It is really good.
We're really into the chicken chicory salad
Oh,
situation. Yeah.
And a sweet smoked paprika type rub. It's for sure like a comfort flavor for me for some reason.
Yeah, I feel like especially if you can't get outside to grill and then get that smoky flavor on there, the smoked paprika is really the way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yum.
this has become a staple. We make this rub by the giant batch, and then I give it out to friends.
That's a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
Is that your like casual, I'm coming over to your house, here's a small gift?
It's sort of more like the friends who we cook with most often are basically family. And so we're always just like eating at each other's houses. And so I'll just be like, here's a thing of rub. And my friend Jen, she comes back from Korea with like some marinades that her mom has made and things like that. So we're always just giving each other food all the time.
I love that. Food friends are the best.
Oh, they truly are.
Do you guys feel like there's a dish that your friends always want you to make when you come over?
John's salsa is very popular. Wow. His signature salsa recipe.
Yeah, I was drawing a blank, but I guess that does get requested every now and then.
Everyone really loves it. You can take the compliment. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have a page number, but it's definitely in the book.
Yeah, what's it called? Table salsa, I think.
So.
And it is made. We talked with our producer Dirk last week about this, but it is made with canned tomatoes, which he was surprised about.
Dirk was a little taken aback by that, which I understand.
But it's not like a pico de gallo. It's not as chunky, but it's got really great flavor, and it's really nice because you can make it year round when the tomatoes aren't so great.
Yeah, and some charred serrano and habanero, and you take the bottoms of scallions, you char those, and pan-roasted, quote-unquote, garlic. So basically a few cloves charred. Yeah, it's delicious.
And Kat, something we ask all of our guests, what is your relationship to the joy of cooking?
Well, as it happens, the first major feature that I wrote for Food and Wine was about the joy of cooking, because I was lucky enough that was before I even started working at Food and Wine. I was working at one of our sister brands, but it had just been in my soul for a really long time. I have various copies of it that I didn't grow up with it, but I think I was given it when I went off to, I'm pretty sure it was actually grad school, not even college, but grad school. I have that edition.
Oh, amazing.
Here, I have 6 different editions sitting next to me, some of which came from my mother-in-law, who, if she were still alive, would be over 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
I have others that I collected while I was writing a story about the two of you. So our origin story, if I may say, we were at the IACP symposium one year, and we ended up sitting on the floor of I think an abandoned ballroom or some sort of empty room. And you started telling me about your story together and how you sort of the things that people wouldn't necessarily know about how you took up the mantle of this longstanding, family tradition, and then how the two of you fell in love, and that there was a beautiful story behind it. And you were kind enough to let me to work on this story with you and help get it into Food and Wine. So the thing that had been really sparking in my soul for such a long time just absolutely ignited. And I got to come to Portland, spend time with the two of you, and really delve into all these different editions and what they have meant to people throughout the years, and starting and asking people about their origin stories with it. And nobody's neutral on it whatsoever. Everybody has it in their home somehow. It like, it's, I don't want to say it's like furniture, but I love furniture. So I will say that I guess I'm very deliberate in picking about my furniture, but it's a book that makes me feel safe because I know how much rigor goes into it now and how much it always has. If I am fact checking something, that is one of the sources I use for absolute reference because I know it is vetted over the course of decades. I love collecting copies where people have written in the margins and have, things. You've shown me your collection of these that people have sent back to you, as maybe as somebody is, nearing the end of their life, or maybe it was in their estate or something. But these really, they really matter. And, I've contemplated over the years getting. You actually think you guys actually put this into my head, a tattoo of the squirrel with the pajamas coming off.
Yes.
But so I have all of these editions in various states of repair and disrepair and all of that. The one hole in my life with this is that I did not buy myself a copy, the goth edition of it. That was
I felt certain that you were going to buy that when it was around.
Yeah.
Somehow I don't remember how I ended up. I'm going to hunt it down one of these days, but it's something where I have given it to so many people. The most recent edition that the two of you did, I have given it to grandnieces. And I should give it to the grandnephew too. I don't know how much he cooks, but he should, and give it to people as they're embarking, because it's never going to get old. It's never going to not be relevant. I wrote a thing today about Jacques Pepin's La Technique, and he was saying, like, it doesn't matter how long it's been out, those techniques remain the same. Yeah. And, I think of it as a past, present, future heirloom. And it's, I don't know, I get really emotional about it. And especially because I've come to love you guys so much.
Oh, thank you so much. I love that, your story. And it was so amazing to be able to talk to you for that story. And also, everything we do with this book is like a mixture of love and like excitement, and also I don't want to say fear because that's really negative, but also like nervousness, because there is that sense of responsibility that we have, that we really want to be there for our readers and we don't want to lead them astray, and we take that really, really seriously. So it kind of guides everything we do, which can sometimes, I think, is ultimately good, but can sometimes be a little anxiety inducing.
Oh, well, yeah, you're cooking alongside ghosts.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I think that like when we first started talking, I think that was the first IACP conference that we had gone to, and we had basically been kind of squirreled away with joy for many years, and so it was definitely like we needed to share at that point.
Yeah.
I think also it really meant a lot to me to realize that there were people behind it, that it wasn't, because I think of it as this larger than life entity, and and I maybe knew some about it because obviously there's names on it, but I was so surprised to meet you and realize that this is this living and breathing and beautiful and ongoing thing, and I have to say, one of the most emotional moments that I've had over the past, bunch of years was getting that new edition of it and flipping it over. And you'd been kind enough to put my name in the acknowledgments. And like that just hit me so hard to know that I was getting to be part of this thing that is, I think I text you sometimes when I see it in the background of a TV show.
Yes, I love it when you text me. Never stop texting me when you see it.
The most recent one was Shrinking, I believe. And because it's just, I can spot it from so far away across the room. Like whether I'm in a restaurant, somebody's house, if I'm seeing it as part of set design on something, because I'm always looking in the background to see what cookbooks are on the shelf. It's like it's compulsive at this point.
We do that too.
So, well, the thing is, like, you're probably going to see yours there.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Do they have Joy of Cooking there? No. Well, we can stop watching. No, I'm kidding. Not really.
I think that's one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast too, though, is because I think every time I talk to somebody about it, people are like, wait, the people that write Joy of Cooking live here, or they know you, or how are you involved? Like there's always this process of like explaining that you are two people that have written this cookbook. Like it gets lost a lot of times in translation. I'm like, yeah, and listen to the podcast. You're going to find out so much about them and what they do and who they are and the recipes that they love. And so then they do, and then they feel super connected to you guys, which I think that part gets lost sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, with it just being like the joy of cooking, you know?
Yeah, it definitely does. And that's been kind of a hard thing to overcome. When in some ways, I think it's good that we don't have this personality behind the book and that the book can just exist and like bring people joy and help them cook delicious food for themselves and their families. And like there's no kind of associated personality or like baggage with it. But also, I think sometimes it leads people to think it's like this faceless entity and there's nobody really, like it's a corporate project or whatever. And so it's like a fine balance of trying to put ourselves out there just enough, but like we don't necessarily want to be, I mean, we couldn't be Ina Garten, but we, don't want to be.
No, I think it's kind of the result of having Irma, who was definitely an extrovert and wanted to put as much personality as she could into the cookbook, but then also it's a product of Marion, who really wanted to kind of step back and, provide as much useful, reference information as possible. So you end up with this kind of interesting mixture of cute asides, but then also like straight up
research,
capital K knowledge.
Yeah. So. And then we're both certainly introverts. So there's that. There's that piece.
But I love, though, that in this edition, I can look through and find like Easter eggs that are, there's some Twin Peaks stuff in there. I love seeing those things that are, these big institutions, and then finding out like, oh my gosh, it's empowering to find out that there are people too behind all of these things. It's magic.
And then another thing that we always ask our guest, Kat, is what is your signature dish?
So I was thinking about this, and I don't know if it's so much signature because it's sort of more of a combination of things that I make. But I'm thinking about, I cooked for a bunch of people on my 50th birthday and thought, like, what are the dishes that I feel most confident in, that I'm happy and joyful to share, that is like kind of things where maybe it came into my life through either a cookbook or a friend or something like that. So I would say the combination of a smoked shoulder or brisket, like I am at my most meditative, happy, calm, and this is a lot for an anxious person like me, when I am tending a smoker and I have a giant chunk of meat in there, ideally bone in, and with that same rub I was talking about earlier. And I have that in there, and I have it along with, I make really good collard greens that I originally learned from this woman who, Dr. Ellen Robinson, who we had called Mama Diva, as well as she went through a lot of names. My friend Erica introduced me to her a million years ago, and she fed me greens for the first time. And I had Thanksgiving with Eric and her and our friend Lisa and Eric's husband John for well over a decade and a half or something like that, and watched her make these greens. And like they're smoky and beautiful, and they're never the same, 2 times in a row. But so people sort of ask me to bring that as well, and I'll usually have this, with a slaw of some sort. And cocktails are very much part of this as well. I make bourbon slush. You'll be able to see the recipe in the May issue of Food and Wine. And it's the thing from my Kentucky heritage, actually Northern Kentucky, because it was very much like a house party kind of thing. And, a lot of these are dishes where I used to throw a big Kentucky Derby party every year for years and years. So a lot of it these are the things that rotate through that. There's some pimento cheese. I didn't grow up with a huge amount of food culture myself necessarily in our house, but we picked it all up from cookbooks. So it's a little bit from here, a little bit from there. But if you ask me to bring something, I'm going to say I probably bring collard greens.
Nice. That's also, I feel like you were just reciting the dishes that I make when I'm cooking for people. And I'm like, here's my cornbread, here's my collard greens.
Oh my God. Like that sounds like the best meal in the world. Like that, it really does. And, now we have a tradition, these same friends I cook with, I bring over the collard greens to them. And then my friend Jen likes to make sure she has all of the extra pot liquor and stuff like that. And then she grew up in Korea. And so we spend a lot of time talking about the intersection of like that and Korean food and stuff. So she's going to then take it and put some kimchi in it and some eggs and things. And it's just kind of this thing that it just goes on and on. I usually do a smoked kind of meat. After the heart attack, I started doing it more with smoked turkey. I've made it vegan before for a neighbor and try to figure out how to get the smoke and the umami in there and stuff.
Oh, have you tried Aaron Hutcherson's recipe? Aaron Hutcherson,
Love that man.
Yeah, formerly of Washington Post, but has an amazing recipe for vegan collards that actually just they taste great. Yeah, they can stand on their own for sure.
Oh, I'm definitely going to look that up because I love that man. I love how he cooks, and I need to try that.
So you mentioned Twin Peaks earlier.
Oh, yeah.
The Twin Peaks reference.
Like try to help me not.
I just gotta go straight to Twin Peaks. My goal for season 3 of this podcast, which I haven't told Sarah or Dirk yet, is to get Kyle MacLachlan on the show.
I am actually trying to work on that on your behalf.
Really? Oh my God.
A dream come true for all of us.
Fingers crossed, because I want him to come on Tinfoil Swans, but also he has a memoir coming out later this year.
Oh, okay.
So he's very close friends with our executive wine editor, Ray Isle, one of my favorite humans, and they do a lot of stuff together. I had the pleasure of getting hammered with Kyle one afternoon. I was supposed to be interviewing him. The bar was so loud, I ended up not being able to use the audio, but he's so kind and so just exactly who you want him to be. And I bet you anything you'll be able to get him on.
Well, I did get him to blurb the 2019 edition, and he was so lovely. He was just like, "Oh, I'm actually filming something in Europe right now, but is it okay if I get this to you by Monday?" And I was like, "Are you kidding? Like, yes, whatever you need, whatever I can do to make this happen is fine." And then he sent me 2 blurbs to choose from, like, pick your favorite. I was like, I can't speak.
You're like, I want them all.
Yeah.
I feel like he had one that was very, insidery, Twin Peaksy.
Yeah.
And then the publisher kind of balked at that for some reason, or like, oh no, we can't use that.
So
We need to
boring.
respect Kyle and use the very straight-laced endorsement.
But we can get him on the podcast maybe, and then we can talk about whatever we want.
That's true.
I will say, I will fully admit that I turned an entire room of my house into the Black Lodge from Twin Peaks. So
This is one of my favorite facts about you.
if you go back through my Instagram reels, I think I have a video up there, like a little tour around the room. It's forever evolving in there. And it's like a chevron rug. And there are red draperies and stuff. It's my happiest place in the world. There is a coffee cup that Ray had him sign for me. And just like little bits of ephemera. My husband and I, we don't have kids. We don't have to make anybody else happy but ourselves. So, you build the Black Lodge you want to see in the world.
I feel like we're kindred spirits because our houses, we have lots of hidden Twin Peaks things. We also have a Lost Boys lounge downstairs. But when Dirk and I were in college, we had a radio show that we played goth music, and it was called the Black Lodge. So maybe we can get Kyle on with that.
Yeah,
hook.
We've got it.
You are my people.
So you've also been on the Twin Peaks podcast,
Yes.
Cream
Oh.
Corn in the Universe.
They would love for you to be a guest.
Okay.
Too. So I did an episode, like the host is this amazing man. And it got cut down to about 2 hours, but I think we talked for 6 hours about Kristen Hayward,
Whoa.
who I think was on screen for maybe 16 minutes total throughout all 3 seasons. And then I have to figure out how to make time to sort of like rewatch and make sure, but I'm going to go back on and talk about Carl Rodd, who is truly one of my favorite characters throughout the whole thing, and has so much deep lore throughout all of the supplemental materials. But like that was like one of the greatest joys and privileges that I've gotten to have. I mean, the sun went down while we were talking. We were talking about Kirsten Hayward for so long.
I feel like I'm going to have to study up before we get on this podcast.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a topic. And
Supplemental
we'll study.
materials. I'm sadly ignorant of these. I need to see the case,
Oh.
see Laura Palmer's case file.
We
and
have all
whatnot.
the wrapped in plastic magazines so you can read up on them.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And there's that brand new book that just came out, Place Both Wonderful and Strange, that I think we're going to listen to in the car on audiobook. And gosh, it just makes me so happy that other people care so deeply about this, because, you know, it's powerful art.
It is powerful art. And I'm not sure how to like phrase the question, but I was kind of thinking about like I feel like quite a few of the food people I know and love the most are also Twin Peaks fans. And I'm like, what is it about this show? Because it's not a food show. I mean, it's like a tragedy. And then famously in a tragedy, there's no eating, but there is eating in Twin Peaks, which I feel like is maybe one of the things that kind of drew me in. It's just like small town America, diner culture, cherry pie, coffee, cream corn. I don't know, like what's going on?
Disappearing cream corn. Yeah.
Garmonbozia.
Mm-hmm.
That's also in this place upstate where I've made the Black Lodge. There are black chalkboard walls in the kitchen, and they're pointing to sugar, pointing to salt, and then one is pointing to Garmonbozia, and it is pointing to a can of creamed corn. But I mean, I love the notion of like the manifestation of pain and sorrow is creamed corn. Like my goodness. And I mean, I think that the contrast in a lot of the tones there and stuff was by virtue of the dual nature of the creatorship there with Mark Frost and David Lynch. And I'm never entirely sure who was driving which particular thing. You know, I think that Agent Cooper as the self-insert of David Lynch expressing his particular joys in the small weird pleasures of life that gave him a voice to say how much he loves coffee, or stop and love something as mundane and absolutely perfect as cherry pie or something like that. And there's this scene later on when they're trying to get Norma to pull back on what she's doing with the pie recipe, and she refuses to sell out in a corporate kind of way. I think that he's using these values of the handcrafting as this, you know, sticking to the core of Americana and truth and right, which is sometimes warped, but, you know, sometimes pure and beautiful.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about how so much of that show is like the contrast between this vision of this ultimately really beautiful and special, like small town that, you know, I think David Lynch apparently had like a fascination with like small town America, and how it's like this quaint place with the sweet little diner and the beautiful, delicious cherry pie. But underneath it all is this, you know, kind of nightmare, which I'm very drawn to that duality.
Well, yeah, that's just the opening sequence of Blue Velvet kind of gets into that very dynamic that you're talking about. It's just, you know, kind of a
roses and picket fences
and then just a bunch of insects crawling around in the grass.
But I'm also, if I can just hit on one more food point, sorry, like getting dirty about this. But I think of how they were trying to show this duality of Laura and what she was still trying to cling to. And she was delivering Meals on Wheels to homebound people, and had this moment where, you know, she had this, you know, terrifying moment where Bob came forward, and, you know, and I think maybe this was one of the times when the Chalfonts were like in the parking lot or something like that. There was a vision that she was about to go and deliver a huge quantity of food to people, and she was getting all these meals together. And this is her trying to cling on to those still the homecoming queen parts of her, and still trying to like bring that out to the world. I just, you know, to me, like save for Garmonbozia, the food is pretty pure.
So, Rombauer Vineyards is sponsoring today's episode. And honestly, I've been wanting to talk about them because they just released a fresh vintage of their Sauvignon Blanc, and it's quickly become my go to white wine as we head into the warmer months. It's refreshing and vibrant, exactly what you want when the sun is out. I've been having it with asparagus with orange and hazelnuts, and I mean, it just works perfectly.
And okay, if you're planning on firing up the grill soon, let me tell you about their Zinfandels. They just released their 2023 vintage, and it's bold, juicy, and has real depth. The kind of wine that just belongs with good food and good company. Something like grilled marinated octopus with shaved fennel and white bean salad comes to mind, but it's so versatile.
Head to rombauer.com/joy and use code JOYPOD. That's JOYPOD, all caps, for 15% off. That's ROMBAUER.com/joy and use code JOYPOD at checkout.
Must be 21 to enjoy.
I did have other non-Twin Peaks questions for you. That was
I hope I could
actually
answer
the
them.
smallest question on my list, but I knew we could talk about it forever. I wanted to talk a bit about your mental health advocacy. Like, you've written a book about your own anxiety, but you also talk to a lot of chefs about mental health in restaurant kitchens and the whole culture of restaurant kitchens. Why are restaurants in particular need of attention when it comes to mental health, do you think?
Oh my gosh, so much has changed over the past decade since I'd been talking about it for longer than a decade, but I went public with a project called Chefs with Issues in 2016 because I've been pretty open about my own struggles with mental health. Back when I was working at CNN, I wrote some stories about depression and anxiety, and it was, I think of it almost as like a coming out, like to admit publicly that I, dealt with mental health issues, pervasive throughout my whole life. But I was also the food editor at CNN. And so it kind of made me a safe person to talk to about things. So I would be interviewing somebody and, we would break and they would say like, hey, actually, can I talk to you about something? And it just started happening a lot. And I was really honored and touched to be trusted like that. And then I just started hearing it more than half the time. And so I, put a survey up online, bought a domain name, put a survey up online and got thousands of responses to it. And then within the first month or so of it, I learned of 3 different suicides. And I was thinking, I started mathing that out, like how many people that would be in a year or in a decade, and thinking about, okay, these are ones that have bubbled to the surface. How many have we not heard about? And then people started just like really coming out of the woodwork. And so I started talking to more people about it. And then, a year and a half into this, or 2 years, Anthony Bourdain took his own life. And then suddenly just everything exploded and the conversation really, really opened up because so many people were in pain. And to me, it's always been a chicken and egg kind of situation that people who didn't necessarily come from stable backgrounds or, or struggled with issues like so many of us do, where sometimes it's really hard to live a life like other people do, because maybe it's hard to leave the house, maybe it's hard to wake up, maybe it's hard to function. And the kitchen, for all of the difficult things about it, can also be a really accepting place of different brains. And I talk with so many chefs about how being in the kitchen was actually perfect for their ADHD or for their anxiety or for their OCD or something like that, because it's systems and you can get out of your head and into your body when you're doing these things. And you maybe have different hours than, a 9 to 5 kind of job. And so it really, so long as you could do the work, a lot of the time you could find your place in the kitchen. Granted, there are so many systemic issues and people who were never made to feel right and comfortable in restaurants and stuff, but it is a place that is more accepting of neuroatypical brains than most places. On the flip side, a lot of this can come with its own problems and difficulties, and maybe people who were growing up on the fringes didn't necessarily develop the most healthy coping mechanisms. These kitchen jobs, and so they don't pay very well. They don't have access to mental health care in, usually like through insurance and stuff. There are so many more advocacy groups now. Like, this has been a huge change over the past decade, that now there are so many more resources people are actually talking about these issues and taking care of one another and not afraid and not just like saying shut up and cook. They're seeing each other as full people. So but just to sort of close the loop on that too, so that people would get into really unhealthy coping mechanisms, whether it was like there was always booze around, drugs, whatever it is. You get off work late at night and they're, what is there to do? There's going to drink. It's not like there's, a bookstore open or, you're not having those regular family check-ins with friends and stuff like that. So you're caught in your own head with people who maybe want to keep the party going and, and can get really, it can get into a really, really bad cycle. But I am so heartened to say that there are so many people who are breaking that cycle and providing resources. People like Southern Smoke Foundation, people, Ben's Friends, that is specifically about substance use disorder for the service industry and stuff. There's so much more light and hope than there was when I started talking about this openly, and people were angry with me for talking about it.
Wow.
It's just, I see more and more every day people like stepping up and taking care of each other because they realize they're worth it.
I also feel like I've seen more chefs, like high profile chefs, coming out and saying like, I'm sober now. I had a problem with drugs or alcohol, but I'm, living a different life now, and just being really open about their sobriety, which is really refreshing and wonderful to see.
Mm-hmm. They're on run clubs now. I mean, that's the thing. You can run anytime, and sometimes it's like replacing one behavior with another, but it's still, I think that's wonderful and like modeling that health. But I'm thinking like we just, on the day that we're recording, we had our season 4 premiere of Tinfoil Swans. And a lot of it is talking with Tom Colicchio about ADHD and how he coped early on by like partying too much. But then he talks about a really critical moment that was, he could have gotten into a really dangerous situation, and he was like, okay, walking away from that. But I also saw a lot of people of his generation of chefs just die, die, fade away, all this kind of stuff. And I think people are just sick of it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I was just going to say, I appreciate so much of you, you putting all of that out there and talking about your own anxiety. I know talking about things that you're experiencing yourself is hard, but I know how much it helps other people. And even just, my daughter has ADHD and anxiety. And anytime she hears anybody else mention that, she just takes this breath and kind of smiles and she goes, oh, they have anxiety? She's like, it makes her like realize that she is okay and that she's going to be okay. And especially when she sees like a functioning adult say it and can just be like, oh, great. Like I'm going to be okay. And so I just want to like thank you for all the things that you do, because I think you've helped so many people just by talking about it and writing about it and being in this public space. And I know that you'll continue to do that, but also you're like inspiring the next generation to do that, and I think that's the only way things are going to get better.
Well, thank you for saying that, because it makes me feel less alone. And I want to give a big old shout out to friend of the pod, Margaret Ebi, one of my dearest friends in the universe, who literally like wrote a book on how to feed yourself when you can't.
It's such a good book too. Oh, I love it so much.
Book. And yesterday I got to shout her out. I went on another one of my favorite podcasts, Depresh Mode, and they're doing a Depresh Meals episode. So we got to talk about like how to feed your beautiful body when you're going through this. But I think just I feel good for how, I don't know how old your daughter is.
She's 12.
12. Oh my God. That gives me hope for the future. First of all, that she has a mom who sees her and sees this in her, that like, that is everything. That's so huge. And I'm 53. It is not going to be the stigma that it would have been when I was growing up. Thank you for being part of the change.
How can eaters, like people who just go to restaurants, who aren't in the restaurant industry, how can eaters support better workplace conditions or better mental health in restaurants? Like, what is the role of just an average person in that?
There are so many of these amazing groups out there, like Southern Smoke, like Ben's Friends, like, figure out the people who are involved in those and go to their restaurants. I mean, sometimes you can look at a menu and see that there are, I know service fees and stuff like that are really hot button kind of thing, but sometimes it's going toward making sure that the people who are working there can actually like stay alive and well.
Yeah.
I don't want to get the name of this wrong, but I just saw this thing day, and it was Padma Lakshmi was talking about it, but it was a coalition of a bunch of these groups that had gotten together, that had maybe been operating in various parts of the country and some nationwide, and they had come together so to like collectively lobby for all of this. And oh gosh, I wish I could remember this right in this second what that group is called. But you'll see the people, like the chefs who are out there who are speaking up about these things, or maybe make a point on their menus of supporting these causes. Like there are always like charity events and stuff like that. See who takes part in these. And also, I think we're all in this state of reckoning right now with everything that's gone on in Noma. And I wrote about this recently because it was at Mad Symposium, that Noma's a big part of it, in 2016, where I got up on stage and talked to hundreds of chefs about the mental health crisis in the industry. And at the same time, was with all these revelations, I was having to reckon with like how much of this was going on, like when I was just like feet away, talking about this kind of stuff. So I was thinking like, I have to do my research, and more than other people, I think more because of the position that I have. But now, like if I'm going on to somewhere, I might go on Reddit and see if there's stuff about them, because there are always like people who work places who are talking on Reddit, and you can, sort of have to vet for yourself, look at local message boards and stuff. If I'm going to splash down for a fairly pricey meal and stuff, I want to make sure that like their people are happy and being taken care of. And I trust places where people have been working for a really long time. I think people wanting to stick around is a really huge thing. I try to support restaurants. New restaurants are so wonderful. We have to get out and support those. We also have to support those ones that have been around for, Tom Colicchio's restaurant has been around for 25 years, and they just had their hardest year yet. So we have to keep those places going. But if you're a regular at a place and you see that there isn't a huge amount of staff turnover and stuff, you have a pretty good indication that things are going well there.
Yeah, support your restaurants, especially the those stalwarts of the Thinking about Portland, there's so many new places that we always want to try out, but then we usually just go to a place we've been before because.
But gosh, you have such a great restaurant city.
Yeah,
really and truly,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I still think about fried egg. I'm in love.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. The last couple of times we've tried to go, it's been so busy that we end up not eating there, which is great. Happy for them.
Good for them.
Yeah, great for them. But I want an egg sandwich.
And y'all were kind enough to take me to Ox, which I totally fell in love with.
One of our faves. Yeah.
Ox is great for sure.
Oh, hello. I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about an easy way to enhance your meals. Whether they are a healthy vegan grain bowl or that late night snack we'll pretend didn't happen the next day, and that easy way is Marshall's Hot Sauce. For 15 years, chef and cookbook author Sarah Marshall has been hand-making and bottling these delicious sauces. She works directly with local farmers and highlights the lovely flavors of fresh seasonal produce. They're gluten-free, there are no additives, dyes, waxes, or binders, and they have mouth-watering combinations like serrano ginger lemongrass, or habanero carrot curry, or even whiskey smoked ghost, which was featured on Hot Ones. So head on over to marshallshotsauce.com, that's Marshall's, HAUTESAUCE.com, and see all the available sauces and spice blends. Oh, that's right. Sarah's created spice packets by dehydrating and freeze-drying actual produce, so you can impart flavor into your food with more vegetables. But that's a story for another day. Find all of these delicious creations at marshallshotsauce.com and enter HOTJOY, that's one word, capital H, AUTE, capital JOY, one word, at checkout for 20% off. That's HOTJOY at checkout for 20% off. And now, back to the show.
I mean, we could talk for hours, but every week we answer a caller question. And this week we're going to talk about maple syrup. Can you read the question, please?
This is Nick from Portland, Oregon, with a question for the Joy of Cooking podcast. I recently came into sort of a glut of maple syrup, pretty good quality stuff from Vermont, and I have like a gallon of it. I love maple syrup, and I normally treat it like sort of a precious commodity. partially because of the cost of it. But because I have so much right now, and at the rate I would normally use it, it will be in my fridge for quite a long time. I'm interested in some ideas about other possible uses rather than sort of typical on French toast or pancakes. Thinking like ways to flavor a pie or some other sort of dessert where maybe you could substitute maple syrup for some other kind of sweetening agent. Thanks. Bye.
Ideas for a large quantity of maple syrup.
Did they actually say how much? I'm just kind of curious.
I think it said a gallon.
Nice.
Okay. So I was just reading our entry on maple syrup in the Know Your Ingredients chapter, and I think that on average, that would be 35 gallons of sap.
Yeah, it's something wild, like 35 to 40 gallons
Is
of
what it
sap
takes to
per-
make a gallon of
yeah,
maple syrup.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So that is a lot of boiling down in the sugar shack.
Yeah. I have a suggestion. Mine's
Go.
quick. Because I'm thinking about, maple syrup can go bad. So there's a way to acidify it. So if you think about like how people make like hot honey, you put some vinegar, and if you want to make it hot, you can put some dried chilies in it. So you're thinking about, the water is what's causing it to mold. It's when you're taking all of that maple syrup sap and you're boiling it down to make that. There's still so much water in it. So if you want to make it last longer, but you don't necessarily have to make it spicy, but I would make it spicy. So I would just
make it spicy.
I would heat up some vinegar with some dried chilies and then add it to the maple syrup. And then you can still keep it outside of the refrigerator.
Nice.
So
that's
that's
a good
my
idea.
tip.
I like that a lot. And that's a good note also that if anyone doesn't know, maple syrup will mold if you don't refrigerate it. Usually if you buy like the maple syrup at Costco, it's got a seal on it so you can keep it out until you open it and then you have to refrigerate it. I don't want anybody opening their maple syrup to find some mold in there. That is a sad, sad thing.
Well, especially if you're paying a lot of money for something that is expensive and high quality, like he's saying. But yeah, and some people are like, I don't refrigerate anything, whatever. But it is one of those things that it will grow mold.
Yeah.
It has so much water activity in it.
And it's a kind of lower pH. It's not acidic at all. So yeah.
Yeah, so I I calculated if they were to not repeat any recipe in the Joy of Cooking that uses maple syrup, they will consume 8.5 cups. So that's not too shabby.
Are you gonna read them all off?
I mean, I don't have to.
Well, let's talk about volume first. Like, what's the largest volume, the recipe that uses the largest volume of maple syrup?
Maple candy, which is just, you add some oil to the maple syrup, like a little bit, and then you're just bringing it to 238 degrees on a thermometer, and then just pouring it into, an oiled,
Like molds.
yeah, a mold or a 9x5 pan, and then you can just cut it when it's cooled down. But yeah, that's a good 2 cups out of there. But
Before we read off your recipes, Kat, do you have any thoughts about using maple syrup?
Yes, I do. Throw a party. This is what I love to do if I have a large amount of something. I came back once from North Carolina, where my husband is from, and we had so many pork products because I brought back scrapple and liver mush and like, liver pudding and all this kind of stuff. And I was looking.
I can relate to this problem.
Oh yeah, like so much nieces in there.
Oh,
and
nieces!
I love nieces, and we had sausage and stuff. So we had what is now known as the pork drawer party, and I got Elizabeth Carmel to come over, and we made all these different things. So having a gallon of maple syrup is a perfect excuse to have a party. Like, first of all, you need to pour enough out to decant so everybody gets to take a little bit home and do something with them. But otherwise, go nuts. Make something large format. Make the drinks out of it. Make it the theme of the entire thing. I don't know. Make a slip and slide if you want to. Like have games. Have like, can you do a maple syrup hot pot kind of situation?
Ooh, maple syrup shots.
maybe the fountains, like the chocolate fondue fountains.
Having
Yeah.
made a gravy fountain. And we actually did do, when I was at Extra Crispy, which was a breakfast website, we did do a maple syrup fountain. So this is...
Yeah, so you've got your little fondue, almost fondue-like situation. You got little sausages, little mini pancakes, and
Maybe
waffles.
some corn dogs, perhaps.
Corn dogs?
I don't know. Just brainstorming here.
I hope Nick has that party, and I hope he invites us to it.
I know. That sounds so fun.
He did say he's here in Portland. We don't know him, but
Nick, if you're
invite us
listening,
over.
please invite your maple syrup party.
I want video. I want video so badly.
All right, John, just pick a few favorites.
Well, Switchel is like, a pretty low effort, thirst quenchy kind of beverage.
I don't know what Switchel is at all.
It's kind of like old-timey Gatorade. So it's like a refreshing thing you might drink. I compare it to Gatorade,
Dirk
not
gave
for
us
the flavor.
The most questionable.
He doesn't know what it is.
No.
Either. That's what that look is.
It's just, usually it's a little bit of vinegar, so it's a little tangy, some maple syrup, and water, and what else? That's it, right?
Oh, I have to look at the recipe. Jeez.
But it's basically like an electrolyte replacement beverage for a hot day. It's very tasty. It kind of reminds me of a little bit of kombucha because it's tangy, it's a little bit sweet, but it's pretty light and refreshing for like a hot day. And then I was thinking about, I kind of want to just use maple syrup as a glaze for things. I think it would be like just a great glaze for like ham, chicken, salmon, pork.
We have a bourbon glaze recipe that it's usually uses molasses, but you can sub maple syrup and then, use a whole cup of it.
Oh, and I think that would be really good for some vegetables too. Like maybe like winter squash, or even I think if you roasted some mushrooms and then glazed them with just a little bit of that at the very end and let it get kind of crispy and caramelized.
Maybe with some cayenne mixed in.
Yeah, make it spicy. Absolutely. I also had down, we've got, it won't use very much, but it's fun. If you've never made homemade marshmallows before, there's a recipe Enjoy for homemade marshmallows, and you can use maple syrup in part instead of some of the corn syrup, or maybe all of it.
I think it's
can't
all of it,
remember.
and that's 2/3 of a cup.
Yeah, that's a lot of maple syrup, and it's just fun to make marshmallows because it's kind of like a science experiment, and it's really surprisingly easy and cool when it just happens. It just like turns into a marshmallow at a certain point, which is very fun.
Seems great. I've never made marshmallows. I've only bought.
You
them
should
in a
try.
bag.
You should try. They're so much better than store bought.
I'm
It's
sure.
crazy.
Yeah.
My one note is do not use it in canning recipes because it has a low pH. I think if you wanted to use it in a quick pickle that you're just going to refrigerate, that would be fine. But no canning with maple syrup. So you cannot replace sugar in your favorite jam recipe with maple syrup, unfortunately. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do. Like there's a recipe Enjoy for sunrise muffins, which is like a kind of breakfasty, like grated carrot and apple and nuts and oats, like a hearty breakfast muffin that uses maple syrup.
Well, the first thing we joked about was that when you were working at the natural food store, grocery store, like they had a bunch of vegan baked goods, and
Oh man, we
every
went
single one of them
through-
uses maple syrup. So just
We went
find
through a
vegan baking
wild-
recipes.
It was truly wild. Like all of our vegan recipes, and we were making huge quantities of baked things, but you would use like 6 to 8 cups of maple syrup in a recipe. And once Whole Foods actually bought the grocery store I worked for, and when they came in, they put a stop to that pretty
Like,
quick.
that is too expensive of an ingredient.
And we're not doing
Nope.
that. And then our recipe of the week is a maple syrup recipe. The title of the recipe is actually honey, sorghum, or maple syrup pie, and it's on page 678. Just use maple syrup as the sweetener for that. And it's like based on the recipe from 4 and 20 Blackbirds, the bakery. They had like the salty honey pie, but use maple syrup instead of honey and add that flaky salt on top. And it's fantastic. So if you make the recipe of the week, please tag us on Instagram at The Joy of Cooking. We would love to see it. If you have a cooking question or joy story to share, call our hotline at 503-395-8858. Leave us a message or send us a text. We'd love to hear from you. Sarah, can you please read the next caller question?
Had to go joy hunting, and I'm so excited to have found a 1951 edition. Are there editions that are hard to find or extra rare so that I can keep an eye out?
Fun.
Answer
We get to
that.
talk about old
Yeah.
joys and our joy collection next week.
Awesome.
Kat, do you have all of the editions?
Well, let's see. That guy.
Okay. Yeah. Facsimile, 1931 facsimile edition. 50.
That's a 1951.
Yeah, 51.
Yeah.
Like that? 75.
Classic. I mean, they all are, but whatever.
Oh, yeah. 19.
43.
Yeah. Another 70. That's the
Or-
comb bound 1975, which I recently was, oh my gosh, there's so much. But I was going through all these old papers that our publisher sent us from like their storage. And a lot of it was junk, but then there was some correspondence. I guess that comb bound Joy, it was like another publisher got a licensing deal to print it as a soft cover, but they did not get an authorization to do the comb binding. So that was forbidden, but they did it anyway. But that was like in the 70s. It's fine. It's
So I have contraband here. Oh my God. Well, and then I have the most important one, which
There
is
we
this.
the 2019.
Very nice.
Do you guys have the leather-bound one that Kat was mentioning earlier?
No, we don't have it.
I feel
gonna
like we
hunt it
I feel like
down.
we had a mock-up of
Yeah, I think
of
that's
it.
right.
Did they have to get approval?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
yeah.
To do it?
They bought a license to
So
print it.
beautiful.
It's really
It was
I
beautiful.
remember
CB2,
seeing it.
wasn't it?
I definitely sent you a picture when I saw it, and I was like, I feel like this was made for me. I didn't get one.
Hint, hint. Yeah.
All right,
all
what
makes me so
what is
happy.
everybody what's everybody cooking this week? What are you excited to eat this week? Kat?
Oh my golly. Okay, so this week is looking like I'm trying to think of what we have in the fridge right now. It's going to be a cod week.
Nice.
Douglas had always been sort of a fish hater and stuff, and then he didn't really have a whole lot of options after the heart attack. Had to very much change some things up. So I've been playing with a lot of just different, there's sort of basic like air fryer cod, but I tweak it every time. And Burlap and Barrel just sent me a few different like fun new spice blends. They have like a sumac salt kind of affair. So I'm going to like play around with that. Some, it's still not entirely spring here in New York. So I'm going to go stalking what I can, and honestly, like less cooking, but I am just jazzed to say that I was thinking back over my meals for the past week. Rocco Spirito has a new restaurant, and I am going to ask him about his pesto rosso, and I need to figure out what he did there because I cannot stop thinking about that. It was sort of this very like sort of big tubes of pasta with this with this pesto rosso, and I was like, I basically need to harangue the man until I can
You definitely
that
do.
out.
So you'll be getting like a gallon yields recipe that you're gonna have to scale down.
Luckily that man writes really good human recipes.
Oh,
in his
amazing.
Oh,
cookbooks.
nice.
So I'm gonna pester him. I will also say he had a squid ink arancini, squid ink risotto arancini, and I need to figure out that too.
John, you have a good cod recipe that you make.
Oh
the
yeah.
boulanger.
Well, cod boulanger. Am I pronouncing that?
correct.
You're the official French pronunciation.
right.
Okay. But yeah, no, it's just simply baked with potatoes. I think the potatoes have been par cooked and pearl onions, and the recipes in the book. What we've been doing is we've been adding like a miso butter to the top, which I think that's going to be going in the next edition. It's just really
Yeah,
good.
just like a little dabs of miso butter on the fish. And
Yeah.
then it kind of melts down and, enrobes everything in its deliciousness.
But I mean, cod's just it's a great canvas. I guess that's kind of a backhanded compliment to cod, but a red pesto sounds delicious. It seems like that would be good. Or a salsa verde would be wonderful.
What about you, Sarah?
Well, I've been recipe testing, so I'm not going to say, I can't think I can say what those recipes are right now, but in the hot sauce world, I'm doing strawberry rhubarb ghost hot sauce. That's my market special. And then I'm all of our lovage plants and mint plants and parsley plants in the garden are going off. So I am bringing our chimichurri back to market, which is like one of our popular
Yeah, that's a
market
really people love
items.
that.
It is-
They do love it. Everyone's
It's
been
really
coming to my
good.
booth and being like, "Is the chimichurri back?" I'm like, "Not yet. My plant. It's just like spring here. Like the ground just unfroze. I gotta wait till they grow." So that's what's going on in the hot sauce kitchen.
That's like the gateway dish for lovage. Period.
Yeah.
I think.
I know. Well, a lot of people don't know what it is even. So then they try it and then I can
Let me know if you want more lovage because
Sure, I will.
I had a tiny start a few years ago and it is now a giant thing that I actually split in half this year and planted in 2 different places. So now we're going to have
Yeah. Well,
so
we have
much.
plants all over the yard, but I mean, my customers go crazy for it.
Yeah.
So I need a lot. I need a lot of love it.
Just let me know.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Crucial question: do you ship
I
your hot
do.
sauce?
Of
Okay,
course
good to
I
know.
do.
Because you just made me so hungry.
We'll send you a little care package.
And Kat, before we wrap, where can listeners follow you?
Oh gosh. So on the various non-evil platforms at Kat Kinsman, I'd really, really love it if folks would tune into Tinfoil Swans. We just launched season 4. I'm super excited about that. You can find my work on foodandwine.com, and just my DMs are open and stuff, and I just love to talk with lovely folks like you. And I just have 1 million things I want to make after this episode.
We'll put links to everything, your podcast and all your socials in our show notes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Joy of Cooking podcast. Before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast by subscribing to the show and leaving us a review. Follow us at joyofcooking.substack.com and on Instagram at thejoyofcooking. Stay tuned for next week, where we'll talk about vintage joys, and don't forget to make this week's recipe maple syrup pie on page 678. Call in with questions, hopes, history, or where you find joy in the kitchen. Our number is 503-395-8858. That's 503-395-8858.
And we could not do this without our fantastic team at Joy of Creation Production House. Thanks to today's producer, my cute husband, Dirk Marshall, and Haley Bowers, our audio engineer. If you love the stories we bring you each week, please consider supporting us on Patreon. As an independent media company, your support is absolutely essential. It allows us to continue creating high-quality professional episodes that amplify the voices of women, small business owners, writers, artists, and creatives, and keep their stories free from commercial pressure. By becoming a Patreon member, you're not just supporting us, you're investing in the future of independent media. Please visit patreon.com/The Joy of Creation Production House to join our community today. Thank you for listening and supporting our podcast dreams.